Hey, what up, boxing fans? This is the Rope a Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. I'm back with another upload. This one pertains to the Gennady Golovkin versus Kell Brook fight coming up here just around the corner, September 10th. Sky Sports box office pay per view in the UK, and of course, HBO in the States afternoon. They do have a nice doubleheader lined up with it on HBO, which is pretty cool. Um, this is a prediction video. We're just going to get right into predicting this fight. I'm not going to talk about this fight as it pertains to outside the ring, like my opinion on this fight, because I've already done a video about that. Um, Basically, it's a money fight, is what the video's about. You can check it out. I'll leave a link below. But yeah, you can check it out on my channel. That kind of dives into what I think, because there was so much opinion on this fight. You have Golovkin fanboys trying to talk about Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler and trying to compare and contrast and try to say that, this is a historical fight, potentially anyway. And then you have your GGG haters that call it a cherry pick. And, obviously when a guy goes from 147 to 160, it's going to raise some eyebrows, right? So if you want my opinion on that, the outside of the ring, what I actually think of this fight and what this fight is, you could check out that video. But I'm not going to dig in when it comes to that, when it comes to this video. It's just, I've already been there, done that. I'm kind of sick of hearing about that. And, one of the first thing is to talk about is the weight, right? I think that's fair. And like I just mentioned, Kell Brook going up in weight to from 147 to 160. Now we know he's a very big welterweight, and I think that 30-day weigh-in really put it in perspective. Now, it's not like his 30-day weights are 176 trying to make 147, but still to be 16 pounds over 30 days before the fight, even if it was him drinking water, a lot of it, or a lot of water weight, or he had just eaten or whatever, you know what I mean? Who knows exactly what was in there? I know Eddie Hearns spoke of two different pitchers, and one of them you could see he had a bunch of water, and yada yada yada. So obviously, will the weight be an issue? Yeah and no. Like I said, he's a big welterweight. My guess, like many others, most people don't think he'll go back to 147, win or lose. If he wins, I doubt he'd go there. He'd have a middleweight strap. He'd have plenty, actually, of middleweight straps, not just one. And there is a lot of talent, including a name or two at 154 as well. So my guess is he doesn't go back to 147, Kell Brook. So let's say he's more of a natural 154 pounder right now, right? And obviously, when you see them face to face, you could tell size. It's not really size, the weight, even though he's big and all that, still it's really about what it does to your body, right? At least he says he feels stronger, which, seems pretty obvious that that would be the case instead of struggling to make weight. But I don't know. It really matters what it does to your body, because we saw Amir Khan, we saw some pictures as, even before he started camp, when he was just trying to bulk up and then slim down off of that. And sometimes you put on weight that you just don't need. Many fighters blow up between fights, or at least put on a sizable amount of weight, even if they're somewhat in shape still, they put on weight, you know what I mean? So one of the things that Kell Brooks obviously got to worry about with that weight, beyond even talking about Golovkin, is his speed. You know, will he be as quick-handed? Now, is he the fastest fighter out there? No, but he's pretty damn quick. I'd say he has very good hand speed, right? So he's quick-handed. Will he be able to keep that quickness, that hand speed? And, obviously for Kell Brook, that's going to be key. Hand speed will be key. Like I said, I mean, the old speed kills thing. With this, to score and to get in and out, and even that jab, that he does have a pretty solid jab. And to get that thing in and out with the quickness is going to be crucial. Obviously, to pump that jab throughout the fight will be key as well. In the jab itself, we'll get into that, but the jab itself is obviously key because it's not like Golovkin, doesn't jab, right? He's got one of the best, if not the best, jabs in boxing because of the power he brings with that as well. But on the Kell Brook side of things, like I said, hand speed. How will his body react with that extra weight on fight night? My guess is he's going to obviously put some weight on after they weigh in, so he'll probably be the heaviest he's been in the ring. I'd assume, right? Especially from the 147. Now, you may gain. He probably gain more weight, of course, the next day in the next 28 hours or whatever, 30 plus hours. But he was starting at 147, not 160. So my guess is he'll be the heaviest that he's ever been in a ring. But who knows? Who knows? And power, right? And power obviously works both ways. Is he a powerful puncher? Not really. I wouldn't call him a power puncher. Does he have pop and power? Yeah, of course, definitely. You can see when he's in there with a guy that doesn't necessarily belong in there with him, a fringe guy, he usually takes care of business. Now, the Carson Jones first fight, did he show some weakness, especially on the inside? Yeah, sure, definitely. So, how is his power along with speed going to transfer up to 160? And then how is he going to take the punch? I spoke of Carson Jones, at least buzzing, if not full on hurting him. How's he going to take that punch? When it comes to size and height, in weight, it really matters how you can actually take the punches and how you deliver your punches, and if they have similar or the same pop and zip on them at the higher weight class. That those are some keys on his side. For Golovkin, I'd probably have to say that there is a good chance Kell Brook represents the best opponent he's been in the ring with. So if you're one of those people that are really hard on Golovkin for taking this fight, you may want to rethink that. Obviously, a couple of guys that he thought he was close to signing with, especially Eubank Jr., he ducked the fight. So either way, whether it was Senior's fault or not, he didn't want the fight at the time. And Brook just took those terms. But there's a good chance that it's his best opponent. And like I said, I guess that doesn't bode well. Obviously, people have ducked him. But overall, what is he, 34? He's had a lot of fights. I guess you could say that there's a potential. Skill-wise, speed-wise, strategy-wise, maybe the best overall fighter he's faced. And how will he deal with that? A lot of the guys he faces are pretty standard. Some of them have power, like Rubio or Stevens, but they never really were at that high of a level. You know what I mean? Martin Murray at 160 and 168 has proven to be a damn solid fighter, but never a tippy-top level fighter. Now, obviously, Sergio Martinez, that fight, He probably should have gotten the nod for that one, right? But we all know just by looking at it, and then obviously fights after that and injuries after that and time to try to heal after that. Sergio Martinez was not, himself in that fight. Clearly, had some issues there with the injury in his knee. So, that's not taking anything away from Murray. Like I said, if they would have gave him the fight that night, I'd have been just fine with it. So, and I know Kasim Uma, in my mind, Kasim Uma's done the best, even though, he didn't make it 12 rounds either. I mean, in the last several years, who has, you know what I mean? But he had the most success. Now, I know that you have to preference some of that success because of Gennady Golovkin that night, Sometimes there's excuses that a camp or a fighter or a promoter makes, and it's complete nonsense. Sometimes it's kind of in between where, yeah, I guess so, but it doesn't explain this. But honestly, as long as that all happened, which it seems like it did, Golovkin clearly had some travel issues, having that jet lag and being up for a long portion of time, which is obviously something you don't want to do right before a fight. So I can understand his performance, even though he won and stopped him. Kasim Uma had a ton of success against him, and Uma's pretty fast. He's been in there at the world level, no doubt about it. But I would believe the reasoning there. Sometimes, like I said, you don't believe fighters, or you just kind of step back and go, well, maybe it's a reason, maybe it's an excuse. You don't really know, but I believe that one. So for Golovkin, it's a guy that has some skill on the outside and hand speed. So it's definitely a test for him. So everybody's saying that he's cherry picking. I get it because of the weight class. I'm not crazy about this fight. Obviously, that 30-day weigh-in, I think, intrigued people, and maybe that is after a meal and after a bunch of water. I know just from wrestling and having to make weight. And we had to make weight, sometimes for a Saturday tournament, we would weigh in at like 6 o'clock the night before or whatever. But usually you'd weigh in, let's say it's a Thursday match, you'd weigh in and a couple hours later you're wrestling, you know what I mean? So I know a thing or two about making weight and how your body feels and all that. So obviously that weigh-in, that could have been a way to show, hey, Brook is not going to be a smaller guy in here. It's just a matter of, can he take the punishment, at that weight class? And that's what we don't know. So there's not a whole lot to talk about on the Golovkin side as far as facing a guy that can move at a high level, at a top level. It's debatable if Kell Brook is the top welterweight. You can definitely make an argument, but it's not written in stone. You know what I mean? It's that he hasn't proven it. He's beaten Porter, and he beat him cleanly, but he beat him a certain way. And why don't we focus in on that fight? I know some of the negativity stuff, or, people saying there's no way Brook has a chance, will point to Carson Jones in that first fight. And, to me, how sometimes he was getting caught on the inside, how he got caught in general, how he took a lot of punches in that fight. Now he, was able to land a bunch of punches as well, but he did seem very susceptible to hooks and uppercuts, and his inside game is not necessarily that impressive. So people will point to that. We've heard that he was injured in that fight and all that. But I think Porter and Brook is a fight that is worth, looking at again. Not because it's a great fight, but because you can at least get an idea of what kind of game plan Kell Brook is going to come in the ring with. And my guess is it'll be a lot like the Porter fight. Um, just in general, Kell Brook has got a really snappy jab, like I said. Loves to throw the right hand behind it, but also loves to throw the lead right hand. He counters well with his left hook. I think his clinch game is very good. I think his grab and clinch game, or punch grab, I think it's really solid. And I know people out there that maybe, like broken glass or like, nails going down a chalkboard going, what are you talking about positive about his clinch game and how it's tight? You know what I mean? Well, let's be honest. A lot of the tactics he used against Porter, he's going to need those same tactics against Golovkin. And it will be interesting to see. We know Porter's a big dude. It'll be interesting to see if that strong welterweight can have that power to clinch and grab after landing punches, or on the inside to a bigger, stronger Golovkin, or at least at the at that weight class, no doubt about it. That'll be interesting. But the Porter fight, the jab was there, like I mentioned. He didn't punch a ton in combination, but when his punches landed, they were clean. They were easy to see. They were scoring. And then he did a great job of clinching and just stopping the action. And Porter didn't have anything for it. You could tell, and they even said, him and Ken Porter, his dad, they even talked about how we're going to have a plan. Now, they should have had a plan prior to that fight. You know what I mean? Obviously. But they didn't have a plan. And, the referee, let's be honest, there's some refs that get on a fighter and call that, early to mid rounds so it can actually mean something and they can, deduct points. And sometimes you get away with it. And my guess would be that Kell Brook would probably be able to get away with clinching and holding more, being that it's in the UK, it's in London, and he's from that area. I know he's not from London, but still, he's from the area. He's from the UK, right? He'll have most of the fan support. Now, it's not like Golovkin fans won't be out there making noise for him, of course, but I say that though, and that makes sense, right? That's pretty logical. You're in your home area, your home region, and you get the benefit of calls. However, he didn't, Porter, although it wasn't in exactly his backyard, but because America's it's regional. You know what I mean? You have 4 regions, and it's pretty different in a lot of the regions. So it still was in America, obviously. And Porter didn't get any advantage there because clearly he was holding. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? So that kind of flips it on its head a little bit there too. You know what I mean? But I'm just going to go out on the limb that he, in a sense, I know people are going to get on me when I say he's the A fighter, Kell Brook, but in that sense, on Sky Sports pay-per-view with Matchroom Sports, they're the best I'd say right now in the world, but by far the biggest in the out in the UK. So, that kind of makes him a side. Now, I know that, Golovkin is popular worldwide and on the East and the West, and I'm assuming he's going to invade Texas here soon. He draws huge crowds, right? And the Mexican-American fan base have damn near adopted him. You know what I mean? So he's an A side in America. But, and not that Kell Brook's is crazy popular, but I'm speaking of A side, not necessarily, it's off of money because he's going to make more money. But, when it's in your home place, you're the fighter that fights for the lead promoter, and then it's on Sky Sports, you got to call him the A side. So will that jab slow down and help contain along with those right hands behind it, or the lead rights, or the counter? coming in. Like I said, the left hook counters very well. Will that be enough to keep him at bay? Well, yes and no. Keeping him at bay is very important, but you can do some of that movement with your feet. And I'm really interested to see how good his feet are. Moving on the outside is one thing. Flicking a jab against the guy that's not on your level and moving, that's different, But obviously he faced a top level welterweight and a guy that pushes forward. But, Porter is very susceptible to a clinch because he closes the gap too much. You know what I mean? He's very out of control, right, when he comes in. He can close the gap in a hurry. So he has quick feet, but he doesn't necessarily position himself to get his shots off at all times. You know what I mean? Or most times. A lot of times he smothers his work. At times he gets better. He's getting better at it. But when you smother your work, you're also, putting yourself right there on the clinch, right? So Porter and Golovkin, it's the only thing is they both come forward, but Golovkin's got a much more patience and just much more fluid, not nearly as wide puncher as well, which is key, especially coming in and being countered and stuff. So obviously the key game plan will be to be somewhat active, right? And to be first. If he's somewhat busy in first and can clinch, he could win this fight, Kell Brook. It'll be interesting to see, like I said, if Kell Brook can actually hold on. I'm not talking about a bear hug, because a lot of times a bear hug gets you in trouble because you're leaving yourself wide open. But if he's not able to contain or clinch or, stop that freight train coming, it could be a long night. A lot of people think it will, and a lot of people think he's going to get stopped, which, jumping weight classes and all that. And really, he's had, 35, 36, 37 fights or something. He's fought one top-level guy. I'll be honest with you. Big shots out to the UK. But if Kell Brook was American, people wouldn't even be taking him serious. To only have one top-level guy, I don't know. But, the same thing could be said for Golovkin. And his style in which he fights draws the fans to him. Now, obviously, on pay-per-view, he still has a ways to go with that. And that Lemieux fight shouldn't have been on pay-per-view as it was anyway. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. Those are the keys for Kell Brook. You got to be able to clinch. Think about, and I'm not, when I say Margarito and Golovkin, we're not comparing those guys, okay? But the way Shane Mosley was able to clinch or get his shots off and clinch, or clinch and get his shots off, you know what I mean? Or turn them. Sometimes, like I said, it's not this bear hug thing that I'm talking about. It's controlling your guy. Even sometimes the way Porter does, where he'll literally physically put you in on the ropes. You know what I mean? But the way Shane was first and the way he clinched and turned him to have to reset, those are the things that Kell Brook will have to do to win this. And just be smart. Do not do a lot of stuff on the inside, because to me, the inside is the biggest weakness for Kell Brook as a fighter. Now, obviously, the weight may end up, and the power difference may end up being the biggest difference there. But I think, or biggest weakness, I guess you could say. But to me, he either can clinch and grab, but a good fighter can stop that, or the ref may say something. You never know. But to me, like I said, he leans in. A lot of times in some of those fights, that Carson Jones fight comes to mind, he would just lean his shoulder, in a little bit, or he'd be leaning all the way over, just wide open for uppercuts, hooks. You know what I mean? In close quarters, I don't like Kell Brook that much, especially a guy against Golovkin. And for Golovkin, the Golovkin side, his jab is one of the best, if not the best, and it comes hard. He doesn't have to rely on just coming forward and especially blitzing him like Sean Porter did at time Carson Jones. He doesn't have to rely on that. As we see in the Lemieux fight, he's just fine sitting in the middle of the ring and controlling and hurting, or at least causing damage with the jab. Because a lot of the fight of that Lemieux fight, that's where the fight, where the fight was fought. That's where the action was. So for me, Golovkin, the jab is key for both. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest keys in there because, we're really going to see the defense on both these guys too. I think that's another key, the defense on both sides. We've seen Golovkin kind of just throw caution to the wind at times. That Rubio knockout when he got punched at the same time or right after it, whatever, comes to mind, when it comes to that. The defense, is Golovkin's a very patient, very fluent puncher that can really adjust as he's throwing the punch. And for consistent pressure with hard punches, but not overly wide punches, he doesn't get wild in there too often. For me, Golovkin, the fact that he could sit in the middle of the ring and win the fight, maybe, to me, I think that's right there is the reason why he's going to win. We could talk about power. We could talk about the weight. We could talk about if, the weight bothers the speed of Kell Brook. But honestly, the fact that Golovkin showed he can win a fight in the middle of the ring tells me he's not going to lose this fight. He's not going to lose this fight. And have we really seen Kell Brook move a lot on the outside? I mean, even with Porter kind of, he'll come, obnoxiously forward at times, but then all of a sudden he'll be in the middle of the ring, sometimes to his fault or on the outside of Tish. I'd like to see Brook against a guy that is a very responsible come forward fighter that doesn't loop his shots unless he's trying to loop them because of the high guard or something like that. So to me, Gennady Golovkin has two ways to win this fight. And I think Kell Brook only has one, and that's staying on the outside, being smart, being first, and clinching. It'll be interesting to see if he can clinch and hold and grab, Golovkin to the point where it actually contains him. That I don't know for sure, but he'll need it. Kell Brook will need it. And like I said, I know a lot of people will be like, what the hell are you talking about telling Kell Brook to hold? I hate holding, and I get all that. But let's not act like, rabbit punches are illegal. It happens in a good chunk of fights, doesn't it? So I'm just talking strategy, and I'll tell you what, if I'm a guy coming up in weight and I'm taking on a killer like Golovkin, I'm going to try to be first and grab too. I don't know what you guys are going to do. I'm not out here talking keyboard warrior stuff. You know what I mean? I'm trying to win the fight and not get my head knocked off. Anyway, I just don't know if Kell Brook can summon enough strategy. He's got the skill, but the fact that in all these fights he hasn't faced a guy like this, that's a big issue. But like I said, on the flip side, you could say the same thing about Golovkin to an extent. I mean, who's that top-level boxer on the outside that he's faced? Willie Monroe Jr.? I mean, so there is that. There is that. I want to see how Brook on the outside, if he can consistently stay sharp, land his offense, and stay out of trouble the whole fight on the outside. A lot of people call it running when people move. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just movement, setting traps, staying on the defensive side, but also being able to go offensively. His whole defensive game is going to be tested. in my mind. Because, like I said, on the inside, I don't like the fight for Kell Brook. I think he gets beat up there. But anyway, I got Golovkin winning this fight because of the outside skill and being first. I want to say Kell Brook's going to be able to make it all 12 rounds. I want to say that that's the thing. So I'm going to go by unanimous decision, Gennady Golovkin. Possibly a late. Oh, I shouldn't say possibly. I should say possibly a decision, a distance decision. Could Kell Brook be able to last that long? What was it? Was it 11 rounds or 10 rounds for Murray? And he stayed on the outside a lot of that fight. That's not his game, but he did. He was able to do it for a while. So, of course, he's been at 160 and 168. So he's used to taking this type of punishment. But I'm going to, I guess, a little bit anyway, go out on the limb and say Kell Brook, is going to lose, but I think he's going to be able to go the distance. There could be a late stoppage, obviously. Anytime you're dealing with Golovkin in stoppage, that can happen, right? So, yeah, I think I'm going to go unanimous decision. Clear win. Look for Brook to have a lot of success within the first 3 to 4 rounds, if not be up 2-1 or something like that. I really think so. I think that we could see Golovkin getting tested like he hasn't in quite some time. And like I said, that Uma fight is really the only fight you can look at and go, yeah, he can definitely be exploited, but there is some reasoning to that on the Golovkin side. Anyway, I'm out of here. Give me a follow at Rope-A-Dope Radio on Twitter. You can check out the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast anytime on iTunes, SoundCloud, anywhere, really. blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio is the home of it. That's where you can listen to it live on Wednesdays. Peace.